Grand Prix for Ducati yesterday. They've locked out the top 5 places on the grid here to tame the horsepower rodeo. Who's going to be our King of Kota in 2022? Great look inside. Where's Marc Marquez?
He's plumb last,
he missed the start.
Had a terrible start. Marc Marquez didn't get
to get a superb launch. A nightmare then for Marc Marquez. The King of Kota dumped all the way.
Of one of the Pramac Ducatis, it must be Johann Zarco is down in 6th position. The Suzukis have not getting
from the pole man Jorge Martin, as we expected. 4 Ducatis inside that top 4. Great there in 5th place, but an absolute disaster for the King of Kota, Marc Marquez. All the way.
The Suzukis have dealt with Takaki Nakagami already. They're both back up to where they started in 7th and 8th. He said yesterday, but he doesn't have any trouble following Jack Miller. Bastianini is coming.
Some stunning attacks from the back of the pack before in his Grand Prix career. If he does it here today in Kota, they MotoGP, a mountain to climb for Marquez early on here in Kota.
He's battling, which was plumb last going to turn 1. He's already up to 19th. He's now passed his brother for 18th.
Here comes Martin up the inside of Jack Miller into turn 19. Beautifully done. Nothing, the instant retaliation he does up the inside of the Martinator into turn 20.
Bastianini looked a little bit wide to the final corner. You could see already what Fabio Quartararo is dealing with down that main position, but that's crucial for Fabio Quartararo. He's been able to get away with that leading group, 3 places to 14.
So how much of a calamity was that botched start for Marc Marquez? Nearly 5 seconds on that opening lap alone. Disaster for Marc Marquez. Through turn 9, 4th gear now, pinned on the MotoGP bike, dropping down the spectacular.
Already a little bit of a gap back. You can see Rins steaming up the inside of Mir. He's going to get Zarp. Here's a look at the start. Keep an eye on Marc Marquez. Just doesn't get away. Just bogs it down completely.
That looks... Look at the data here. Thing has happened there, hasn't it, for Marc Marquez? I wonder if he's mistakenly got the pit lane speed limit not in question. What was not in doubt was it was a shocker for Marc Marquez. 9th place all the way to the back of the pack by the time we got to the first corner.
You can ride on board with him on the left. Bezzecchi, unfortunately, has crashed down on our timing screens. He'll be the reason you can see yellow flags in Marquez for company, and Brad Binder's gained ground. He said a top 10 was possible. He's already up to P12.
You can check on the recovery here of the 8 times world champion. Now then, Marco Bezzecchi crashed, clearly smoke pouring out of the rear there of Marco Bezzecchi's Ducati machine. Let's hope it's not.
So Jack Miller leads us then. We have a leading group of around 8 riders. Aleix Espargaro, the World Championship leader, has managed to move himself up 4 places already to 9th. He's closing in.
Half laps to get himself up into 14th place. He's 5 seconds at the moment, Marco Bezzecchi, apparently.
Alex Rins just getting past Fabio Quartararo, Matt, just into turn 11. Passed by Zarco at the start of this lap, and he's already fallen prey to the Suzuki of Alex Rins.
It's a top 5 for Ducati in the early part of this Kota Grand Prix, as it was on. Also be getting the message on his dashboard as well. Let's have a quick Marquez check. Next in his sight, Secchi. Has he gone down again, or has he just decided to park it?
Yeah, he must have seen the flag.
So Marquez time out in Argentina, which put him to the top of the coveted Rookie of the Year prize. Looking back, Fabio Quartararo then.
It's back ahead of Rins.
Started in 6th place. He's at the front of this race. Quickest man on the circuit right now is Johann Zarco on the number 5 in P between Fabio Quartararo, Alex Rins and Joan Mir. They don't really want to be busting it.
Given that he's overtaking people, Marc Marquez is as fast as these guys. He did a 2:04 Johann Zarco, so Marc Marquez clearly has the pace, but he's got an awful lot of work still to do. He still trails for Marc, potentially long term, is that no one is really breaking away at the front of the race yet.
Rear tyre to get himself back into the top 10 contention. At the moment you can still see Vinales and Brad Binder down this 1200 metre back straightaway. You're not going to be able to outdrag us. This is Ducati, and here comes Zarco up the inside of Pecco Bagnaia. Bagnaia hasn't got the early race place on the inside of him at turn 12, just running a little bit hot. Bagnaia swept straight back on through.
Marc Marquez then, this is the action he's up to. This was him trying to get past Maverick Vinales, and he goes
control there, wasn't he? So easy that mistake to make from the forks bottom out. The rear come to get collected by Marc Marquez. Back then with your race leader, the overhead shot looking at the faces on the grid. A historic achievement yesterday for Ducati. It's gone to plan A so far. He finally make this move stick on Pecco Bagnaia. Bagnaia's not going to let him have it easily, is he? But Zarco finally then back into P4.
Fabio Quartararo just about keeping time in the low to mid 2:04s. Quartararo currently 1.8 seconds off the lead. I guess behind him. Now we cut back to Marc Marquez, who is now past Maverick Vinales. Next,
Espargaro in 9th spot. Aleix Espargaro's got about 2 seconds to bridge to get himself back in for 11. They're all just concertinaing up again here, aren't they, at the front? You just wonder whether, with a bit of just backing off ever so slightly, and that's bringing Alex Rins and Quartararo back in the contention. Looks like he is, although he'll have the inside line now for third. in. So a bit of a block pass there from Rins on Quartararo into 12.
Rins clearly feels he's got the pot named. Marc Marquez and Alex Rins, crucially for him and for this pack of Suzuki front, they're still very much in touch with the leader. They've just got an awful lot of Ducati if they're going to get their way to the front.
Yeah, and as it stands, if you threw the checkered flag now, we'd have a tie between Bastianini Championship in Portimao in a couple of weeks' time.
So Marc Marquez steaming up the inside there. Braddock into 12th as Mir now gets past Quartararo. Quartararo drops another place to 8th.
Mia, what a shot this is on board with Quartararo. Whoa, you can almost reach out and touch Mia. Quartararo, it's left, right, really physically demanding. Alex Rins has got great pace at this circuit. A 2:04.241. He's now got through on Pecco Bagnaia, who at the moment...
Ducati's at the front of the field has now been breached. They're now being breached by Alex Rins. Jack Miller, who continues to hold.
Yellow flags right in Sector 2, Lewis, now then. And what's happened there then?
Alex Marquez.
Alex Marquez, who's just had a truly forgettable weekend. It's the third crash he's had so far this weekend. Time to pack up, forget this one, and out.
So Aleix Espargaro, then the World Championship leader, you can just see him in the back of on board with Fabio Quartararo. Sees Joan Mir coming inside of him. Quartararo very much one at a time through here.
You know what, full respect to Fabio Quartararo. He's riding the absolute performance out of that M1 than what the Frenchman is doing right now. If you look where the other Yamahas are, Davizio's 21st place. Yamaha somehow need to find a way to keep Fabio Quartararo on board, because working as well as he'd hoped underneath him right now, but he's putting up another rousing fight here in Kota.
Jack Miller, you can see the Pramac Ducati of Jorge Martin just behind us, and Bastianini's big fire. We expect him to be so strong in the second half of the race. Bastianini not having any threat from on the 4 Ducatis that are now ahead of him in this Grand Prix, as Miller gets the Ducati move.
It's the kind of risky move he has to make, because there's no way in a million years he'll be able to out-drag it. He got in hot, didn't he, Rins, into turn number 11. It compromised all his exit speed and all the hard work to do yet again. There he is in 5th place. Now then, Marc Marquez blew up through turn number 12, and Marquez then on lap number 7 finally.
Championship leader Aleix Espargaro. It's impressive this from Marc Marquez, not just the fact that he's making his way through, still faster than the leader last time around, despite all the traffic that is all around.
As we mentioned pre-race, he's the only rider other than Marc Marquez that's tasted the victory again and again. He's the only rider circulating around Kota right now, Alex Rins, in the conundrum to work out how to get through on Zarco, Bastianini, Martin really strongly for the latter stage of this race. Your 2 picks will be Enea Bastianini and Alex.
Other than Alex Rins was Marc Marquez. How galling will it be for not getting off the line on the first lap? He's clearly
the lap that he took his teammate Paul Espargaro for 10th place, and he's honing in now. And of course, if Marc Marquez can dispense of Aleix Espargaro, Enea Bastianini can keep himself championship.
Zarco taking a bit of a defensive line there, covering off any potential. A little bit of a gap over Pecco Bagnaia, half a second as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. Joan Mir not able to make any kind of at the moment, although he is also lapping in the low 204s. Paul Espargaro, you can see there, he's dropped a place. He's now got...
of survival for Paul Espargaro, laid low by a horrendous bout of food poisoning, coming into the real horrible day for Paul Espargaro. He'll be feeling that now. We've all had food poisoning, creeping very quickly as Marc Marquez. Whoa! Well, it's called, as always, through turn 10. Wow, I feel dizzy watching that replay.
What he's capable of in this Grand Prix. Fastest lap of the race to the number 63, a 2:0. Bagnaia starting to get into this now.
Smart cookie, isn't he, Pecco Bagnaia? Maybe just towards the podium places. Alex Rins on that last lap dropped back into the 2:04. Not just in this race, he's got the measure of his teammate Joan Mir at the moment, Alex Rins.
So of, 8 riders down to Fabio Quartararo in 8th position, who's still setting personal best.
Block pass, just trying to find a way through on Zarco. He makes the move again on the Ducati, just strips the paint off the side. That's Suzuki. This time around, yeah, Zarco hot though. Now then, can Alex Rins, if he can get ahead of Ducati here, he's going to have the superior challenge, trying to keep Joan Zarco at bay through this tight and twisty section.
And Martin, you can see Martin has now dropped slightly further back onto the front wheel of Enea Bastianini. Lead of that race started to pull out a little bit of a gap. Bastianini suddenly attacked. He got his plan into motion and
turn on that last lap cost him about half a second or half a second to Aleix Espargaro. Pecco Bagnaia again then, having dipped into the 2:03s and set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on his previous Fatima at the top of the hill there. The virtual fan wall, I'm sure wherever you're watching in the world, you're enjoying it. Leads. He's been there since lap 1. Jorge Martin and Enea Bastianini keeping and watching.
A bit wide through turn 1. That will have put Marc Marquez right on the tail of the World Championship leader. Personal best for him. That was 4/10 quicker than the leader.
on board there now with Pecco. Rins on Bastianini. He's so good down in the hill into turn number 11. Although Enea Bastianini winds that Ducati up to top gear. He's had the top speed all weekend now. There's just nothing that Alex Rins can do. It's free time, isn't it, for the Ducatis?
Back straight. Little did Fabio Quartararo know when he saw Marc Marquez just behind on the grid, absolutely steaming through the field.
Yeah, and this means now, I think, that Aleix Espargaro has lost the World Championship leader. Marquez then gets the job done on our race winner 7 days ago for Marc Marquez. Now up into 9th place. Fabio Quartararo is about barnstorming ride here. Super impressive with him. There's so much pressure on Alex Rins coming into this. He had a poor start to this campaign. It's been anything but. 7th in Qatar, 5th silky smooth on that Suzuki, and right in the victory battle again here in Austin.
Bagnaia looks like a bit to match the pace of the 4 up ahead of him. The gap between them is now 7/10 of a second between. Look as if they're shaping up to make a move on the Frenchman.
Yeah, we thought Bagnaia's charge had really been launched, actually through at least, on Johann Zarco.
Here comes Rins again.
Yeah, Rins again to turn number 11. It's to just slam the door on the Suzuki man. Now, crucially, watch this. Enea Bastianini's straight. Nothing that Rins can do about this. He's got to try and find a way through in this sector. Frenchman pretty quickly. There at the top of your picture is Marc Marquez just coming through turn. Wow, he's already found 6/10 on this lap to the fading
Rins on the
Frenchman.
inside again. This time try and make a move on Bastianini, having it go into turn 13. Bastianini again, just hanging out around the... No way through yet.
Just love watching Alex Rins ride. He's got the textbook riding stuff. Trying to understand the best way to ride a MotoGP bike. Alex Rins is just poetry. That's immediately better though.
Bastianini on Martin.
Ladies and gentlemen, who is the fastest man on the circuit?
Bastianini up to second then. Bastianini from defending from Alex Rins has now gone through on Jorge Martin. Pulled out a lead of 7/10 of a second on Jorge Martin, and that fired Bastianini into action.
Jorge Martin into turn 7. Beautifully done by the Suzuki man. It's been a poor lap that's off by Rins and dropped from 2nd to 4th.
Rins then into the podium.
That's a late launch. That is a block pass from Pecco Bagnaia. It was almost to the Sarko's rhythm. That's allowing Joan Mir to maybe launch an attack down this long back straight as well. Don't get back on Bagnaia. Oh, that's a raid. That's not going to work out, and he's going to lose. Play a little bit frustrated there, not liking the fact that Bagnaia blooded his nose into turn number.
Pramac Ducatis, both Jorge Martin and Johann Zarco starting to slip backwards. Here's Marc Marquez seconds. Probably too much for Marc Marquez to make his way all the way to the front. But can he now? But he just doesn't appear to have the pace to go with this group. It's only mistakes ahead of him that might present an opportunity.
Lap number 12 is there. Tyre conservation really coming to the fore. Bastianini's got into his galleon as Marc Marquez starts to hunt down the world champion Fabio Quartararo. His personal best lap of the Grand Prix, but still 2/10 slower than Marquez.
Back through the field, can they try and stabilise that on this lap? Quartararo trying to get himself in quicker than all the men in front of him, Johann Zarco, with the exception of Enea Bastianini, as Bagnaia
into 5th place. The Suzuki's advancing towards the front of this Grand Prix at no stage. Oh, big surprise. He's out wide. He's made a mistake on the exit there, coming out of turn number 11, state from the normally unflappable Bagnaia.
Zarco also made a mistake out of the same corner. Look how backwards are the Pramac Ducati starting to run into a little bit of tyre problems as we get into this. But Quartararo will shortly see this now as an opportunity. No way through though into 30.
Been very impressed by Chayers for late race attacks. We saw him drop down dramatically here 6 months ago, not enough to launch a raid on fellow Frenchman Zarco into turn 19. Pre-season, Ducati managed so good here in Kota for the Australian. He's still our race leader, and credit to Miller. He's 11-4, but again, folks, who is starting to really get the hammer down in 5-3. That was 6/10 quicker than Quartararo ahead of him.
Quartararo's not going to know which way today. Just looks to have more grip, just carrying superior corner speed than the Frenchman up ahead of him. Just
brilliant that by Fabio Quartararo. That was a real big nudge on Zarco. Marc Marquez picks up another place. He's up now into 8 spots.
And he'll soon. Mir now moving up into 4th position.
Yeah, Jorge Martin and Johann Zarco going the made it work though. Mir now then up into 4th place, although he's coming under immediate attack. Can he? That's supreme confidence in the front end of that Suzuki from Joan Mir. That's brilliant aggression from him. Continues unrelenting. Marquez then now up into 6th.
Ride from Marc Marquez, gets Quartararo down the back straight. You can see here they come into the back of the shim before they even arrive at turn 12.
Yeah, pretty humbling that then for Fabio Quartararo. HRC technical manager. This could be a case of what might have been for Marc Marquez. Enea Bastianini, who's really heaping the pressure now on Jack Miller. It's another
Starting to feel awfully familiar, this, isn't it, for fans of Enea Bastianini? This is the part of the Grand Prix, and all of the leading battle, all the riders in this leading battle have started on that softly responded. Look at the gap, it's already down to 0.3 of a second in the first sector alone.
Jack Miller said yesterday in the conversation, because he has so often in the past had Enea Bastianini come to the stage of the Grand Prix. Enea Bastianini can be and will be.
Battle. This, though, is the battle for the lead. Enea Bastianini, this is the part of the lap where he is so to try and get that GP22 turned into turn 12. He does just about do it. At this moment, with 5.5 laps to go, it looks like a straight fight between the GP20
MotoGP season for the first time in 14 years, with 4 different race winners rest firmly on the right now between themselves and Alex Rins. Suzuki on course potentially for another third attempt. Jack Miller has been at the front of this Grand Prix from the very first lap, but the 23 in second place. Over the line they come, the gap just under 1/4 of a second.
And Miller dropped for a little bit of rear grip with that Ducati, a 2:04.2 last time around. Bastianini, still Marquez. Mir might not be out of the podium conversation just yet. He's starting to gently close up.
Drop right out of podium contention. He's in 5th place. Nearly 4 seconds behind this, going to make his move on Jack Miller. He's sat behind the Australian now for a good 5 or 6. Can he pick his moment to take the lead in this Coda Grand Prix? You can see the tight turn number 12. He's at the fastest Ducati, the fastest bike all weekend here in Coda. He winds using the slipstream, and Enea Bastianini then leads. He hits the front at turn 12 for the first.
Into turn 12. Marc Marquez then is now right on the back of Jorge Martin. So many back in the grip that he clearly still has. If Bastianini is able to do a lap with no one in front of him to disrupt it.
This was the scene that Jack Miller did not want to see play out right in front of him. And now, has that been the decisive move made by the Italian, who without any question in time? Jorge Martin's got his hands full here with a couple of top ex-MotoGP world over the line to start lap 17, has found 3/10 of an advantage over Miller. Here comes on. He's now into the top 6. What a recovery, what a heroic ride this has been from
Marc Marquez, haven't we? In his Moto2 days, we've seen him drop down to the very back of the field and come back to win. He's not going to be too far off once we get to the nearest. Quartararo now eases Martin aside.
Yeah, fighting tooth and nail here in Coda for every single precious point. Brilliant. Now he's going with Joan Mir. He's just on another personal best lap of the Grand Prix, at 2:03.8.
Very wide at the top of the screen there in the background. I don't know whether that was Joan Zarco once again. It was as high as 6/10 at one point as Quartararo once again looking to get past Martin. Martin into turn 12. Quartararo back into 7th place. Can he now follow Marc Marquez as he...
It's a 10 out of 10 for Fabio Quartararo. He's ringing that Yamaha's neck. Bench at the start of the Grand Prix are just absolutely nowhere. Frankie Morbidelli is having a disaster. Our race leader Bastianini, Frankie Morbidelli more than a second slower lap by lap. Enea Bastianini, a low 2:04 from him, 3:10